time, everybody, and welcome to the Jersey Shore Podcast. Today, we've got a packed show from breaking news to topics that will keep you informed. So please click the subscribe button to get notified of upcoming episodes. If you like what the Hammer talked about, then share the Jersey Shore Podcast to others. Damon also looks forward to your comments during this episode. Tonight's Jersey Shore Podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Jersey Shore. That is S-U-R-E, because we are always sure. I'm your host, Damon Galdo, and this is brought to you by the Great America's Pulse Network. So it's going to be quite a different episode, something a little different, more campaign-driven. And but first, before I get to anything, first I want to wish everybody, happy holiday for Easter, and today's Good Friday as well. So hopefully everyone enjoys their holidays with their families. That's the most important thing. And getting to the breaking news, I hope that they find another pilot that was downed in Iran. They found one. It was the F-15 that was shot down. And they found the one pilot, and then the other one is still out there. They're still looking for him. And I hope that they at least get home, or at least get to talk to their family for this important holiday coming up. So we're going to go into, I'm going to backlog my monologue. It's going to be long, but it's going to be at the end. But I'm going to break down a couple different things about the machine, the South Jersey machine, and the Norcrosses. So you see right there, you have one that's going to be opening. This is not a normal episode. Norcross machine, a power structure, not a person. What the machine means in plain English. The 2024 racketeering incident, what the state alleged power, pressure, and control. The case gets dismissed, the appeal at the end of the case, why the story did not end there, the Dranoff Waterfront fight, the Vernon Hill and Republic First bank battle, Camden, the tax credit explosion, the deals, American Water, Sixers, Subaru, L3, how tax credits really work from policy to cash, how the system became insider driven, the property rights, and nonprofit land battles, the 2026 Aspire law changing the rules, and the full pattern connecting every piece. So let's go into the first one. This is not a normal episode. All right, so it's not a normal episode because the Norcross machine is not just one politician or one office holder. It's a power structure. It's a network of political influence, government relationships, development, leverage, tax incentive relationships, institutional allies, and legal pressure that has shaped Camden and South Jersey for years. George Norcross has long been described in the press as one of the New Jersey's most powerful unelected Democrat figures. That reputation in the foundation of the whole entire story. So there's George, he's the power broker, the unelected person, and there's his brother Donald, who is in office. And I'm going to reference in the end, when I'm going to reference where Donald comes into play with this. And they also have Philip Norcross as well. So I'm going to roll through these rather quickly, and let's go to number 2. So number 2, Norcross machine, a power structure, not a person. So Norcross machine is not just, like I said before, one politician or an office holder. It is, like I said, a power structure. It's a network of influence, government relations, development, leverage, tax incentives, all that good stuff. So I already went pretty much through that, but when I connect all these together, that's why I just wanted to label it like that in that way, because when I run through everything, every single one of these, you're going to learn a lot more about what happens in the South Jersey machine and how it operates. So let's go to the third one. All right, so what the machine means in plain English. Part 1, what the machine means in plain English. Here we go. Say that when people hear machine, they think of a system that can influence, like who gets support, who gets frozen out, which projects move, which ones stall, who gets access, who gets government help, and who gets fought, and who gets told to get in line. And that is basically what the machine is in South Jersey. It's a power broker. They make people get in line for different things, and if you don't play their game, then you are out. The reason that word stuck is because of the press, watchdog groups and political observers have spent years describing a concentrated South Jersey power structure around George Norcross, his allies, his family, and the institutions and businesses tied to that orbit. So I want to go into the next one. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is the Racketeering Indictment. So this is in June 2024, the New Jersey Attorney General announced a 13-count racketeering indictment against George Norcross, his brother Philip Norcross, former Camden Mayor Dana Red, Williams Tambusi, Sidney Brown, and John O'Donnell. The state said the case involved a criminal enterprise tied to Camden Waterfront redevelopment, property rights, and tax credits. So that's that one right there. Let's go to number 5. Let's tie all this stuff together before we get going. So what the state alleged: power, pressure, and control. Right? So the indictment said the conduct stretched back roughly a dozen years and centered on using political clout, economic pressure, and reputational threats to gain control over valuable waterfront development rights and benefits in Camden. The Attorney General's office said one developer was threatened, who I'll get into, that a nonprofit was pressured, and the public owner and redevelopment mechanisms were used in service of private ends. Now, the charges described in court records included racketeering, conspiracy, theft by extortion, criminal coercion, financial facilitation, and official misconduct theories tied to the L3 complex, the radio loss matter, and the use or control of tax credits and related transactions. That matters. This really matters because no one gets indicted for racketeering unless there's something there. Now, I'll get why the next one, the case gets dismissed. So it's number 6. And that's just a short one. The case got dismissed, but the whole thing is who gets indicted for racketeering and gets brought back up on racketeering charges, and then it gets thrown out again. There has to be something there. There's no way that the Attorney General is going to bring a case against somebody for racketeering if he doesn't have something. But the thing is, he has to prove it. And with all their, I'm not saying they're guilty. I mean, they won, so they're proven innocent, I would say. Even when, in February 2025, the trial judge dismissed the indictment. But we'll go to 7 and talk about the appeal at the end of the case. So on January 30th, 2026, the appellate division upheld that dismissal. The appellate court said that the indictment either found the state crimes as charged or was time barred under the application of statutes of limitation. So because they said it went back over a decade, so I guess it's statute of limitations for that. So the appellate opinion is important because it did not say the whole political story never existed. It said the state's legal story, as charged, did not survive. The court specifically addressed the argument that ongoing tax credit payments kept the alleged conspiracy alive, and rejected the theory, treating the later credits as a result of completed conduct rather than new criminal acts that extended the clock. So let's go to the next one. Why the story didn't stop here. So here we go with the Carl Dranoff Waterfront fight. Oh no, why the story didn't stop here? I'm sorry, I skipped that one. So for show purpose, I want to point this out. The legal case was thrown out, but the reporting, the pattern, and the relationships, the pressure, and the public questions about how power operates in Camden didn't disappear. Because then we'll go to 9 here, the Carl Dranoff Waterfront fight. So let's get that up there on 9. All right. So Carl Dranoff is a Philadelphia developer. He's been at the center of multiple fights tied to Camden Waterfront property and the Victor Lofts. In 2023, Camden announced a settlement ending a 5-year legal battle with Dranoff over tax payments on luxury apartments he developed. But even then, the reporting said the fighting was not truly over. Then in September 2024, Dranoff sued Norcross and Philip Norcross in Camden County Superior Court, seeking more than $50 million. According to the complaint, Dranoff alleged that Norcross used influence over local government to derail the 2018 sale of the Victor Lofts and damages business interests. That suit asserted claims including civil conspiracy, torturous interference, and racketeering. So that fits the machine narrative right there. There was also heavy reporting during the criminal case that Dranoff was a central figure because the prosecutor said the alleged enterprise used threats of economic and reputational harm against him in the Camden Waterfront dispute. And that's basically the story. I believe he testified in the racketeering case as well. So when a major developer says, political power was used to scuttle his deal, that is not normal politics. That is a warning sign about how the system operates. That is rooted in the publicly recorded lawsuit. I'm sorry. I just put all this stuff together because I want to get it out there because I have an announcement after the show. So make sure you stay tuned. So we have a few more to get through, and then after I get through this, we're going to take a break. And like I said, I back-ended my monologue. It's kind of long. It's basically about all this and everything that's going on. So, and then we have number 10. We have the Vernon Hill Republic First Bank battle. Now, Vernon Hill became entangled in a long-running battle over Republic First Bank. Reporting described a volley of lawsuits and boardroom warfare, pitting Hill against allies, against dissent investors. That included George Norcross. He's always in there. Donald Norcross's brother. Both sides accused one another of wrongdoing during the fight for control. By late 2023, a Norcross-led investigator group had agreed to put $35 million into Republic First as part of recapitalization. Now, Reuters reported that the group included George Norcross and Philip Norcross, and that the deal later fell apart in February 2024. Then in April 2024, regulators seized Republic First and sold it to Fulton Bank. Reuters reported that the failed bank had about $6 billion in assets, and the FDIC estimated a $667 million cost to the insurance fund. Reuters also said the Norcross-led rescue effort had collapsed before the seizure. So we have that as well. The point is that Norcross's reach has shown up not just in politics and redevelopment, but in major power struggles too. It reinforces the image of a figure operating across business, law, government, his brother, and government, and regional institutions. Now, I'm not really, I can't, again, I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just reading what was in the papers. That's it. That's all I'm reading. So for years, Camden was a major destination for state and economic incentives. Reporting found that this is a big one too, roughly $1.6 billion in tax credits awarded to Camden. And I wonder how they got their tax credits. I mean, who's the elected official? Reporting and Camden, about 2/3 were tied to Norcross, his allies, relatives, business partners, and associated interests. So let's go to, I just did 11, but let's roll to 12 now. So that was 11. Apologize for that. So the deals: American Water, Sixers, Subaru, L3. So WNYC, ProPublica, the New York Times, WHYY, the Inquirer, and others all reported on how the incentive program, initially sold as Camden Revitalization, became deeply associated with companies and projects linked to Norcross world interest. Now, one example often cited was American Water. ProPublica reported that the company received $164 million tax break to move to Camden, and also reported lobbying ties involving Philip Norcross's firm. Another widely discussed example was the 76ers practice facility. In 2014, New Jersey approved an $82 million tax credit package for the facility in Camden. Later reporting said the EDA sought to recoup about $400,000 after the Murphy Task Force review found certain fees should not have been counted towards the team's investment. The L3 office complex also became a major flashpoint. The Inquirer reported that the state tax credits turned that office complex into a lucrative investment, and investigators were scrutinizing the transaction. So we'll get to what the tax credits is. So basically, when you're awarded tax credits, say they give you like $400 million in tax credits. If you're building a building, we're going to get to it soon, let's say over $150 million, you can get $400 million in tax credits. And then if you have those tax credits, they turn them into cash because you could sell them to another developer, which is crazy. And we'll get to the bill that they just passed that made it even easier. So then there's Subaru, also became part of the broader critique. Gothamist WNYC reported Subaru received $118 million under the Camden incentive program while employing very few Camden residents, which that was promised that they were going to employ a bunch of people from Camden, and that was not the case. Very few. I believe there was like 5 or something like that out of the whole Subaru plant. Well, I'm holding to that. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it was very, very little. So let's go to 13. So 13 is how tax credits really work from policy to cash. So this is how they work from policy to cash. So under New Jersey's Aspire program, the state can award tax credits to fill the financing gap on redevelopment projects. Those credits are valuable because they are effectively a state-credited financial asset. NJEDA materials say recipients can sell the tax credits to another party for cash to reimburse development expenses. Now, so the tax credits that they're getting that they don't have to pay, they can actually sell them to other people and turn a tax credit into cash for them. They make it a business, which is insane. So, when you say that, they use tax credits and sell them, it's not rhetorical. It's literally how the monetization works. I mean, the state creates the credit becomes a tradable asset, the asset becomes cash or financing power, and that helps make the project work, and that's how they use it. So let's go to 14, how the system became insider driven. All right, so if you can control or heavily influence who gets the credits, who qualifies, what areas are especially favored, how the rules are drafted, and which projects get pushed as transformational, and then you are just operating in politics, you are operating at the point where public policy becomes private advantage, and that's what they're using. They're using public policy as private advantage, and who has the public policies? The elected official, Donald Norcross. Not saying that he did anything wrong. I'm just saying he creates public policy. Now, the concern did not come from nowhere. It came from years of reporting showing that Camden incentive boards repeatedly intersected with companies, project lobbyists, and institutions connected to Norcross and his orbit. Now, these are all quotes that I'm reading that were already put out there, not my words. So let's go to 15. So 15, property rights and nonprofit land battles. So ProPublica and WNYC reported in 2019 on how a politically powerful family pushed a nonprofit out of some of Camden's most valuable land, and how tax breaks and redevelopment reshaped the city in ways critics said benefit the Norcross network and its allies. So it becomes a story about land access, leverage, and who gets to shape the entire city. That's pretty much what it is. That's the machine, the Norcross machine. So let's roll to 16. Now this makes it worse. Now, this is a state-sponsored bill by Lou Greenwald. I think he was the lead sponsor on it, and Phil Murphy signed it into law before he left office. So this is the 2026 Aspire law changing the rules. So it's Senate Bill A6298 became law on January 20, 2026. So the bill modified the Aspire rules for certain transformative projects. Reporting from the Inquirer said those are projects costing at least $150 million that can qualify for up to $400 million in corporate tax credits for over 10 years. The bill description from legislators says that it changed the eligibility and evaluation criteria. The big political point is that the bill was widely reported Camden focused, because that's where they're trying to develop. That's where they say they're going to develop, but nothing ever happens. And where does the money go? So let's go to 17. All right, this is the full pattern connecting every piece. So for years, the press reported that Camden received massive state tax incentives, massive. A large share of those incentives were tied to companies and projects connected to George Norcross, his allies, relatives, or business orbit. Developers like Carl Dranoff ended up in legal fights, alleging influence, which he was right. The state brought a Racketeering Indictment. The indictment was dismissed. And then Trenton passed a new law making similar programs more flexible. That is the pattern. So that's all the stuff. I mean, there's a lot more to it. I mean, I couldn't go over everything, guys, but that is the machine right there. So, our producer, if you can get ready, we can take a quick. We got Jack Brangan on. Jack, come on, or no? I don't know if he's on yet. Jack was going to come on and talk about the Senate bill because New Jersey State Watch. He's the one to put me onto it. At the show on Tuesdays. Jack has a great show. Jack and Constance. But if we can take a quick break, and then I'm going to go into that long back-ended monologue. You play whatever clip that you want, whatever ad that we have.
Hey, it's great to be on with you. This is a great podcast. It's a lot of fun, and it's informative, and it's real information. It's none of the frills and none of the nonsense that you hear on the legacy media, just telling the story of what's happening right now. It's what I do with my newsletter that I get out to anybody who wants to see it. It's what you're doing with this podcast. America needs to know what the real deal is, and you're the real deal.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. I always like hearing that. I really appreciate it. Jeff's a good guy. He runs for Congress and CV too. Sure, he'll do very well with that. So I just want to go into this. My monologue. I mean, like tonight, I really want to speak plainly, not as a politician, not as a pundit, not someone playing the usual political games. I want to speak as a citizen, as a working man, as a father, as someone who has watched for far too long. What happens when power stops serving the people and starts serving itself? Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's really about. It's not merely about the Norcrosses. It's not merely about Camden. This is not merely about South Jersey politics. It's about what happens when free people are expected to accept the rule of a political machine as though it were normal, as though it was inevitable, as though the citizens are supposed to bow their heads and say, that's just how it works around here. Well, I reject that. I reject the idea that the people of South Jersey are meant to live under the shadow of an unelected power structure. And that is George Norcross' unelected power structure. But he really runs the show and uses, I'm just saying what it looks like, he uses his brother to get him what he needs. And that's where the money comes from. I mean, that's what's reported. That's what was accused of. Not saying they're guilty, but that's just the way it looks. That's how people look at it. So it's not really something I could say that happened exactly. I'm just speculating from what I read in the newspapers. So I reject the idea that government should be a private club for insiders. Connected developers, political fixers, favorite institutions, and those who know which back room to enter and which hand to shake. And I reject that the lie that the ordinary citizens are powerless against it. Because the truth is, the Norcross machine is not just a phase. It's not just a slogan. It's not an invention of angry opponents. It is a documented structure of influence, leverage, pressure, and control that has shaped Camden and South Jersey for years. Now, this is not a rumor. This is public record. For years, the press described George Norcross as one of the most powerful unelected political figures in New Jersey. Think about that. Unelected, not chosen by the people in any direct sense, yet so often described as a force in determining who rises, who falls, who gets access, who gets support, and who gets the deal, and who gets shown the door. That is what people mean when they say the machine. Now, the machine has to be connected. The machine can't operate alone. That's right. It's a total loop of a machine. So there's one brother, another brother, another brother. So there has to be parts. There's a lot of parts in this moving machine. So they mean like a system that can't reward loyalty and punish independence. A system that can move money, shape legislation. Who shapes legislation? The elected official. Again, I'm going to say that multiple times. Influence development and make sure the same orbit of power keeps circling around the same money, the same project, the same institutions, and the same names. And if you want to understand why so many people have lost faith in government, start there. Start with the feeling that the game is fixed before the public ever gets to walk on the field. Now, the defenders of this system always want you to think that anyone who points this out is just bitter, just partisan, just angry that they're not part of the club. But that's not what happened here. What happened here is the state itself brought one of the biggest political corruption style cases in New Jersey as seen in years. In 2024, like I said before, the Attorney General announced Racketeering Indictment against George and brother Philip Norcross, former Mayor Dana Red, and the others that I mentioned before. The state alleged criminal enterprise tied to Camden, waterfront redevelopment, property rights, political influence, and tax credits. So this wasn't just some talk. That was not gossip. It was not, a loose accusation tossed around on cable news. That was the state of New Jersey saying it was a coordinated enterprise that used political clout. Again, who was elected? Donald Norcross. Economic pressure and reputational threats to gain control over valuable rights and benefits. Now, read that again in your mind. Seriously, read it again in your mind. The political clout, economic pressure, reputational threats, development rights, and tax credits. That is not democracy at its healthiest. That is a power gathered into few hands for too long. I mean, the state's theory was that the machine was not merely influential, it was aggressive. It was operating in redevelopment fights, not as a neutral player, not as a participant among equals, but as a force that could bend public mechanisms toward private advantage. So now, yes, the case was later dismissed. Yes, the appellate court upheld that dismissal. Yes, the Attorney General ultimately declined to not to continue the case. That's the legal outcome. And I'm not here to rewrite the court rulings, but I mean, let me tell you that what the dismissal did not do at all. It didn't erase the reporting, the years of reporting. It didn't erase the pattern. It didn't erase the lawsuits. It did not erase the tax credit maps. It did not erase the accusations from developers. It did not erase the public record that kept showing the same power structure appearing again and again. Wherever the money was big, wherever the property was valuable, wherever the stakes were high. Because if there were just one indictment, one case, one headline, that would be one thing. But it was never just one thing. I mean, take Carl Dranoff, a major developer, a serious player, not some amateur, not some nobody. He became entangled in years of fighting over Camden waterfront property and the Victor lofts. And then he sued George and Philip Norcross, alleging that influence over local government was used to derail a sale and damage his business interest. And it did. I know Carl actually, personally. And and there's some words that were even said in the courtroom that are documented. I won't even say on the podcast, but it was unbelievable how the words that were used. Excuse me. So, but now, think about what that says to the average person. What a major developer says, political power was used to scuttle a private deal. That tells the public something important. It tells them it's not a level playing field, not at all. It tells them that this is not ordinary competition. It tells them that in certain places, if you are not in the orbit of power, then your success may depend less on the merits of your project and more on whether the machine wants you to succeed. And that's poison to a free economy. I mean, that's poison to fair government. It's poison to public trust. I mean, look at the Vernon Hill, the Republic First saga. Now, again, you see this is a world of lawsuits, boardroom warfare, control battles, and big financial stakes. You see Norcross-led investor group moving into the picture during a major bank recapitalization effort. You see the deal collapse. You see the regulators seize the bank. Now, I'm not saying that proves criminal wrongdoing again. That is not the point. The point is that the reach of this orbit was not confined to City Hall or a county committee meeting. It showed up in redevelopment, in banking, in corporate influence, in law, in politics, and institutions. The footprint, was broad. I mean, the reach was real, and the public kept seeing the same names, the same kind of high-stakes power struggle. And when we come to Camden, the great promise, the great sales pitch, the great public justification for billions of incentives, the people were told Camden will be reborn. I mean, they've been told that for decades and decades. They were told the tax incentives would revive the city. They were told that this was about jobs, opportunity, and a better future. And who can oppose that? Who doesn't want to see Camden rise? But then came the reporting, and the reporting showed that roughly, again, wait for it, $1.6 billion in tax breaks awarded in Camden. About 2/3 were tied to Norcross, his allies, business partners, relatives, or clients connected to that network. 2/3. Think about what that means. It means the public was sold a story about redevelopment, but the public record kept pulling back the curtain on a different reality every time. It was the same orbit around the money, the same orbit around the project, the same orbit around power. The American Water received a massive tax break, like I said before, to move to Camden, and reporting tied that project to a lobbying relationships involving Philip Norcross's firm. So we'll just keep going around the family. The 76ers, like I said, received an enormous tax credit package. Subaru received more than $100 million, while reporting later showed that, like I said, only a tiny number of residents worked there. The L3 complex became a flashpoint for questions about how tax credits and development profits flowed. Over and over again, the names changed only slightly, but the orbit remained the same. And that is when the people began to ask the question that strikes fear into every machine ever built. Who is this really for? Is this for the residents? Is this for the neighborhoods? Is this for the working families who were promised renewal? Or is this for the insiders who know how to turn public policy into private leverage? Now, let us speak honestly about the tax credits, like I said before, because too often politicians hide behind complexity. They love complexity because they don't want you to know what they're doing. Complexity is the mask of power. Complexity is how they convince the people to stop asking questions. A tax credit is not just paperwork. It's not just accounting entry. It's not a financial asset. It's the state creates it. It can be sold. It can be transferred. It can become cash. It can become leverage. It can become a project financially viable. Make a project financially viable is what I meant to say. And if you influence who gets that kind of financial power, then you are not just influencing policy. You are influencing wealth. You are influencing land, and you're influencing the future shape of a city. And this is why it matters. This is why the machine matters. Because when public power and private advantage begin to merge, the citizen loses standing. The small business loses standing. The independent developer loses standing. The ordinary voter begins to feel that decisions are made before any public hearing is held, before any election is run, before any neighborhood gets to speak. And then came yet another chapter. After all the scrutiny, after all the headlines, after all the task force questions, and after years of criticism, after the indictment, after the appellate ruling, after everything the public had already seen, Trenton passed that new law in January 2026, modifying the Aspire program for certain transformative projects. And what did that do? It made it easier for certain large projects to qualify for enormous tax credit support, up to hundreds of millions of dollars. It changed how these projects could be justified. It changed how certain municipalities could qualify. It expanded flexibility in exactly the kinds of places where politically connected redevelopment has already dominated the public conversation. And what does that tell people? It tells them that the machine, even when exposed, does not simply disappear. It adapts, it adjusts, it rewrites the rules just enough to keep moving forward. That's what machines do. They protect themselves, they preserve themselves, they evolve in order to survive scrutiny. And that is why this fight is bigger than one court case, bigger than one indictment, bigger than one headline, and yes, bigger than one election. This is about whether the people still believe they have the right to govern themselves. This is about whether public policy belongs to the citizens or to the connected. This is about whether redevelopment means neighborhoods rising or insiders cashing in while people are handed a press release told to be grateful. This is about whether South Jersey belongs to families, workers, taxpayers, parents, and residents, or whether it belongs to a machine that has been allowed to operate so long that some people have forgotten that it was never supposed to rule them in the first place. And now I'll make this personal, because these systems do not stay abstract forever. They eventually show up at your door. They eventually touch your community. They eventually touch your ballot. And in my case, they tried to take away the choice of the voters before the campaign could even begin. They challenged my petition. They tried to stop the people from having the opportunity to decide for themselves. Not after a debate, not after an election, before it. And that tells you everything you need to know about the mindset of the machine. The machine does not trust people. The machine fears people. The machine fears an open field. The machine fears fair contest. And the machine fears what happens when citizens begin to realize that the structure above them is not invincible. Well, I have bad news for them. The people are waking up. The working class are waking up. The citizens of South Jersey are waking up. And no machine, however wealthy, however connected, however entrenched, can survive forever once the public stops bowing to it. That is a lesson of history. No empire lasts forever. No machine stands forever. No structure of concentrated power can endure once enough free people decide that they have had enough. That's not cynicism. That's hope. That's not anger alone. That's renewal. That's not destruction. That is restoration. Because what we want is not revenge. We want accountability. We want transparency. What we want is honest government. What we want is South Jersey, where a citizen does not need an insider's blessing to be heard, where a neighborhood does not need a political patron to matter. I mean, where development is measured by what it does for the people, who live there, not just by profit margin and who they know and how to work the system. And where government stops behaving like a private investment vehicle for the connected few that starts acting like a servant of the public again. I mean, this is a fight. This is why I say this is bigger than left versus right. This is bigger than one party. This is bigger than one race. This is about whether the people still have the courage to stand up and say that power in America belongs to the citizens, not the machine. And I believe they do. I believe that the people of this district are better than what they've been forced to accept. I believe that the people of Camden are worth more than being used as talking points in a redevelopment brochure. I believe the people in South Jersey deserve government that is accountable, transparent, and worthy of their trust. And I believe that the future does not belong to political bosses. It belongs to the citizens who refuse to surrender their voice. So let the machine hear this clearly. The days of silence are ending. The days of fear are ending. The days of accepting that this is just how it is are ending, because the people are remembering something precious. This country was not built by insiders protecting a system. It was built by citizens willing to challenge one. And that is exactly what we are going to do. We're going to name the machine. We're going to expose the pattern. We're going to tell the truth. And with the faith in God, faith in the people, and faith in the enduring promise of this republic, we're going to take our government back from those who thought it belonged to them, because it does not belong to them. It belongs to the people, and the people are coming. So, folks, that was my long back-ended monologue. So I hope I didn't bore anybody with it, but it's what I have to do. Because the second I stepped up and actually got the endorsement, and I was the only candidate, first thing they tried to do is take me out. And it is the machine. I've never been indicted before for racketeering. I mean, Donald hasn't either. His brothers were, but every part of it had something to do with taxpayer dollars. So, 1 second. But so I'm going to fight like hell this election. I don't have his money. Any help I can get, if you go to votedamongaldo.com, click on the donate button. I know everyone looks at it as an unwinnable race, but nobody fights like me. I'm going to fight like hell to try to win this. There's the QR code too. I'm running for Congress in CD1 against Norcross. And yeah, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a very uphill battle, but I promise you that I'm going to fight for every constituent in CD1. So I just want to have some news for you guys too. My Friday podcast, I have to campaign a little bit more, so I'm going to be doing the Monday podcast at 8 o'clock. and then I'll be on the Pulse on Wednesdays. Maybe on this one here or there, depends on events. But I'm definitely going to keep the Monday podcast, and then maybe a pop-up Friday podcast, but I'll let you know ahead of time. If I have a special guest that comes on and we have the time to do it, I'll do that. But I need a little bit more time to get out and campaign and get more people to know me and give them believe in me. And so, but yeah. So if you want to see what I'm about, you can go to my platform and votedamongallo.com, and you'll see my platform, what I'm about. I'm a regular guy. I don't have, like I said, I don't have what he has. I'm not a machine. I just have 2 young kids, a family, a wife, and I believe we need a better future for this district, this state, this country. So that's why I'm fighting the good fight. So another thing too is, if you guys don't have time to donate now, I know everyone's busy, especially before the holiday. I understand, whatever. But I'm going to have an online fundraising marathon, something like this. I'll let you guys know when it's going to be. I'll promote it, and I hope everyone comes on, and you can ask me questions in the chat box, and I'll answer them as we go. And if you want to grill me, that's fine with me. But this is where we're at. So I will let you know when that comes up. And one thing, I don't know if we have the pennies in action thing too. I gotta put that up there as well if we have it. If we don't, the pennies in action is the cancer research treatment. They raise funds for breast cancer, like stage 4 and different cancers as well. And it's like an dendritic cell immunotherapy, and it actually saved my sister's life. So I just want to, if you guys want to go out and check out pennies in action, any of your family has stage 4. Stage 4 is always been terminal. They haven't figured out how to beat it, but they're beating it with this. So look it up, Dr. Janicki, pennies in action. So if you know a family member that has stage 4 cancer and it's kind of run out of hope, then check it out. And with that, that's about it. So I'm going to play a new song here. So let's roll with that. I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, and I really appreciate it.
Down in South Jersey, everybody knows the name. Same old power, same old game. They shake the hands and they make the deals, while the working man's the one that feels. They talk about unions, they talk about trade, but the jobs and the contracts all get played. Some folks sweat on the job all day, some climb ladders the political way. You can hear it in the bars, hear it in the streets. Working people talk when the day's complete. They call it the South Jersey Machine, running quiet behind the scenes. Norcross says he's one of the crew, but the working men know what's true. You can wear the jacket, you can claim the trade, but you can't fake sweat that a worker made. Everybody's talking, everybody's seen how the power runs in the South Jersey Machine. They talk about Camden like they saved the town, while the insiders pass the money around. And everybody has heard those headlines before about indictments knocking on the family door. Now the court said what the courts will say, but the questions never fade away when the same old names keep running the show. People start asking what they don't know. Working hands know the truth when they see it. No speech in the world can beat it. They call it the South Jersey Machine, running quiet behind the scenes. Norcross says he's one of the crew, but the working men know what's true. You can wear the jacket, you can claim the trade, but you can't fake sweat that a worker made. Everybody's talking, everybody's seen how the power runs in the South Jersey Machine. Machine, running the show behind the scenes. Machine, working folks know what it means. They call it the South Jersey Machine, running quiet and Now here's my name, it's Damon, hear me clear. Born and raised right here, no silver spoon near. I swung the hammer, poured the concrete, paid the bills while they cashed checks from family deals. And inside of thrills, he's done nothing for Jersey but line his own kin. Business partners feast while the working folks thin. I'm the one who's lived it, fought it every day. For the middle class in South Jersey, I'm the better way. They call it the South Jersey machine, running quietly behind the scenes. That's what one of us said. She's one of the crew, but the working men know what's true. Hey, you can wear the jacket, you can wear the trade, but you can't fake sweat that a working made. Everybody's talking, everybody's seen how the power runs in the South Jersey machine.
The Hammer thanks you for watching tonight's Jersey Shore podcast. See you at the next packed show, from breaking news to topics that will keep you informed. So please click the subscribe button to get notified of upcoming episodes. If you like what the Hammer talked about, then share the Jersey Shore podcast to others. Damon also looks forward to seeing you on the next episode.